Okay, I'll start now. So welcome everyone who's attending the third workshop of our National Business Plan Competition. This is a multi-series of educational workshops we'll be running along with this massive competition that the College Leap organization is running. For those who don't know too much about College Leap, it is a national nonprofit organization that aims to empower community college students, especially international students across the country. We establish chapters on various different college campuses, provide leadership and internship opportunities there. We'll be launching 6 different national events throughout this year, and NBPC is just the very first one. So our transfer student panel series will be coming up in October. So stay tuned for that. You can find more information about the other events on our website at collegeleap.cc. So back to the NBPC. If you haven't registered already, please register on the College Leap website with the NBPC tab. That's where you can sign up through your individual college, or if you're not a part of any of the colleges that we partner with, there's always an open session that you can sign up for. And other than participating in the NBPC and other events, you can also apply to be a chapter leader at College Leap, or you can also start a College Leap chapter at your guys' college. Finally, Bill and I will be answering any questions you guys have about the competition in the chat box. And if you have any questions outside of this time, you can always contact your local organizers of this event or email us at team@collegeleap.cc. So without further ado, I would like to give the stage to our speaker today, Professor John Russell.
Thank you. I appreciate it. How is everybody doing today? I'm assuming you can hear me. Let me share my screen, and then if I could get the poll accessible, that would be great as well, so we can ask some questions. I hope you guys are doing well. As you see, I have aged from my picture. This COVID has taken a toll on me in the last couple of months. So I appreciate you guys being here and taking some time this afternoon. I know we've got multiple workshops that you can participate in. So I wanted to kind of take some time to bring in, it's not going to be as much interactive, but I wanted to share some tools with you as you prepare for this competition. I know the last few speakers, and I will piggyback on what the last professors had talked about if you joined those in regards to business model, looking at your customers. And so this step that we're transitioning into now is looking at who our potential customers are and really understanding our target market. So this is kind of what we're going to spend the next roughly hour, or I'll maybe talk for about 30, 45 minutes. And what we can do is answer questions as we go along. So if you do have questions on a particular topic, feel free to put those in the Q&A and or in the chat, and we'll be sure that we address those. So I want to talk about segmenting the market and how you do that, reaching your target market. And then I've got a number of resources that I wanted to provide to you. There's some links there. If you guys don't have the presentation, you could take some pictures. I've put the URLs in there. So you've got some resources to go to as you're preparing for this business plan and how to access information about your potential target market. Then I want to touch a little bit on knowing your competition, because again, part of your business plan, and I will assume that the judges, many of them will ask in a business plan, what other products are out there like this right now? And you need to know that. They're gonna ask, who's gonna buy this? Who might you sell to? So you really need to know who your potential customer is and also the target market. So I wanted to start with a poll question, and I think I need to minimize this to pop up in the poll. Let me see if I can pop it up from here. Give me just a second, just to kind of get an understanding here of your knowledge and as we talk about target market. So if you could quickly answer that question, just are you familiar with the term market segmentation? Okay. All right, good. So a few more have to come in, but that kind of gives me a gist. We're just about at 50-50. So I'm going to end the polling here. So it looks like about half of you do and half of you don't. So that will kind of help direct me in regards to kind of the depth that I want to go into and getting you familiar with this topic. So, all right. So there's the results if anybody wants to sit. Okay, very good. All right, I want to play a quick video. I'm hoping this should play and you should be able to hear this. Let me double check to make sure I've got the sound on. Just a kind of brief overview of market segmentation. I wanted you to hear it from others that are out there, and then I'm going to go a little more in depth in regards to explaining what they're talking about here in market segmentation. Let me know if you cannot hear the video, but I think we should be okay here. Hoping technology will work. We're good. If you can give me a thumbs up, that'd be great. Sorry.
The classical definition of market segmentation, it's the process of dividing a target market into smaller and smaller markets to understand them and be able to target your products and your services and your messages to reach the buyers in that segment and have a product that meets their needs. The reason that you do this is it enables you to sell products faster, so it shortens your sales cycle and it helps you sell more thoroughly, meaning once you sell a customer on your product or solution, you're able to sell more of them.
We're looking for ways to be more efficient with the dollars we spend and to really build something that's scalable in a large sense and not just selling to a few people that are interested in our product.
The active segmentation is both understanding the problem and ensuring I have the core technology that solves that problem, but it's also in communicating that problem and our solution to that problem in a way that people who want to buy it can understand it.
Market segmentation can help you focus your energy and your resources. It can, and by that you will increase your revenue, you will lower your cost of acquisition, and especially you will have a higher retention rate on your customers because you make sure that what you do is something that your customers actually want.
We serve lots of different people in lots of different markets, and it's very difficult to sort of prioritize roadmaps and backlogs and things of that nature, as well as also go out and target your customers. So if you're able to segment more specifically, it really gives you an opportunity to laser focus your opportunity as well as improve the general economics of your business.
Many people think that segmentation is this hard and daunting task, and we think it's fun because you get to understand your customers and eventually you get to talk to your customers.
It'll take some work, it'll take some phone calls, it'll take some customer visits, but in the end what you get back from it is worthwhile.
All right, now that we kind of answered and you understand what market segmentation is, maybe most of you would be able to answer that, you understand it a little bit. I want to step back now that you have that. I wanted to just give you a little background about myself and why understanding the customer is so important, and I'll share some of my entrepreneurial experiences with you and how I had to use market segmentation. So before I got into teaching, I spent about 21 years in corporate America. So I was in sales, I was in sales management, marketing, and I also was an entrepreneur and had some small businesses along the way. So it's been great to be able to see the corporate America side of things, being able to understand the processes, working that 8 to 5 job. And we always talk about those that are entrepreneurial. When I left my 8 to 5 job because I wanted to be able to make my own decisions, set my own schedule, have control over my own income, I left that 8 to 5 Monday through Friday job and I went to a 7 days a week, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. job. So whoop, whoop, right? But that's part of entrepreneurship. And I knew that I was working hard now for myself. So a couple of the businesses that I generated while I was still working at one of my jobs, I actually came up with and was developing an ice blended coffee beverage. And so, I was doing a lot of the traditional things in terms of test marketing. And so I had created and was brewing, if you will, this ice blended coffee beverage, and I was taking it around to fairs and festivals, really getting feedback on the end product and talking with customers and deciding where I could take this product into the marketplace. So that was one venture that I tapped into. The other thing that I did is when I finally kind of got out of corporate America, I bought into a pizzeria franchise. And so I owned that pizzeria franchise. I had it for about 4 years. I bought one location and really enjoyed it from the standpoint of really learning a business from soup to nuts and A to Z. From doing the payroll and accounting to creating the marketing materials to talking to customers that came in the store to be there and flipping the pizzas and the food and menu development, hiring and firing the employees, you name it, kind of did it all. And so that really gave me a taste of what it's like running your own business, needing that resilience, that persistence and perseverance, those things that we talk about, really looking at other opportunities and seeing some of those challenges as opportunities. How do I grow the revenue of this business? One of the examples is, that location when I bought it was only open basically for dinner, pickup and delivery for dinner. I opened it up for lunch. What did that create in terms of challenges and opportunities, and looked at those things. And that's where I'll kind of tap into, who's my target market and understanding my customer so I could bring the right products to them, so I could direct the right advertising towards them as well. So that was kind of a key component of it. So let me get to the next slide. So as we look at our consumers and we look at the definitions of these, when we look at the size and the diversity or the differences in our consumer market, we have to decide, who's going to be our potential customer. We talk about our TAM, total, approachable market, which, could be the whole globe, right? You could say, well, there's 7 billion potential customers that I could sell to. There's 350 million of them here in the United States. Those are my customers. The chance and possibility that all of them will be your customers is probably zero, right? So what we need to do is now break down and define, who am I going to reach out to? So this is where the market segmentation comes into play. And we'll talk about a number of different ways you can segment the market, but that's dividing your market into different categories or groups or buckets based on specific characteristics, and I'll talk about those. And then our target marketing is selecting which segments that we're going to go after. Okay, so there are maybe some outside of those segments that we select that may still purchase, but who do we want to focus on? And this bottom, as they mentioned in the video, this bottom statement here is, our go-to-market strategy and our advertising should be based around who our target customer is. So as he mentioned in the video, we can sell much quicker. We can know who our customer is, so we advertise or reach to them or promote to them properly because we understand who they are. And what happens, and kind of going back to the basics of marketing, some of you may have taken a principles of marketing class and the 4 Ps, product, price, promotion, and placement or distribution. But I talk about that 5th P in the middle being the people, right? Which is our customer and our target market. And what happens these days in business is we develop products based around who that customer is. We price it based on who that customer is. We'll develop our promotions and the way we're going to distribute it and get it to them based on who that customer is. So it's really important to know your customer so you know how to build, design, and deliver your product to them. And that's why I say, a lot of the judges many times in these pitch competitions, will ask you, well, who are you trying to reach? You have the problem that you're solving, but who are you targeting and who would be the best customer to buy this product? So I want to just touch on 5 different ways of segmenting. You may see some different in different philosophies or different marketing processes, but I want to touch on these. The first being geographic segmentation. So as you're thinking about and putting into your business plan, who your market is going to be, one easy way to do this is you might narrow it down just geographically. And as we're starting a small business, it's always recommended and wise to start locally or start small. So as you're testing your market, as things are kind of still developing and you're working out the bugs, instead of launching it out to the entire United States, and then you have possible issues or problems, which could have negative impacts on your product, your reputation, and your brand, why not start in your local county, maybe your local city, whatever that product or service is, right? So start small. You could then grow it at a statewide level, to a regional level. And again, the United States, and many of you may have products that may be able to be provided on a global standpoint, okay? So again, we can break it down geographically. So we could say, right now I'm going to target and focus on the state of California or the state of Washington. That's who I'm going to go after. Another way that many companies and many startups will initially segment is based on demographics. So some of you may have heard this term. Do we split up our market based on gender, based on how old you are, based on income levels, education, maybe religious factors, generations? I was just in a workshop this morning, and it was discussing communications and working in a business environment that has about 4 different generations right now, from your baby boomers to your Gen Zers. And what does that look like? And those generations have different buying habits, have different values, have different thought processes, have different ways of accessing information and products and services. And so we can look a little bit deeper and seeing that by generations. The generational characteristics can kind of lead us into the third point there, which are psychographic segmentations. And this is where we really dig deeper. It's not just how old are you and are you male or female sort of thing. We look at these segments by their interests, where they spend their time, the things they like to do, what are their values, their attitudes, what magazines do they read, where do they shop? Do they online shop? Do they have their groceries delivered? Are they a mom with 7 kids that, is a soccer mom and drives a minivan? Because knowing as much detail about these individuals really helps us to understand them, to then be able to target and advertise and reach to our customer better. Okay. The other 2, which I won't go as much into detail about in the following slides, are you can segment based off of the benefit that somebody gets from something, okay? So you think about energy bars, right? So what are the benefits to energy bars? What are the benefits to those that go into the gym? And so if somebody that is a gym goer, if you will, or somebody that likes to work out, the benefits are a healthy lifestyle. Maybe it's losing weight, maybe it's staying in shape, increasing their heart rate. Well, what other things do they do that lead to that as well? So are they shopping at the organic markets because they want to eat healthy? Are they not eating, let's say, red meat because they have to lower their blood pressure and that's why they're going to the gym? Okay, so we can look at what benefits is somebody trying to achieve from our product or service. And then the other is volume usage. So we could break up our market based on individual consumers, your one-up purchases, maybe somebody that buys, every month from us. Maybe they would benefit from a subscription-based pricing model. You may have business consumers that are buying, thousands from you every time. So if that's the case, do we price things a little bit differently? Do we, reach that segment a little bit differently based on their volume and their usage? Okay. Any questions so far when we're talking about, so this is how we can segment and break up our potential market. So if we say, all right, there's 350 million roughly people in the United States. Now I want to kind of break it down into smaller areas that I'm going to focus on. Okay. No questions? All right, so let's start with geographic segmentation. This kind of gives you a visual. So I kind of gave you an example of the pizzeria that I owned. So what I did is I went to the map here, and I mapped out this is about 1.5 mile radius from the store location. And I said, geographically, this is going to be my target market. Does anybody want to holler out, why do you think I limited it to this geographic location, only 1.5 miles? Does anybody have any ideas they want to share? Since it's silent, I'm going to assume no. Oh, we have somebody in the chat. I don't know if you can unmute as well. So yes, delivery. Yes, more delivery, more likely to buy. Absolutely. So we did primarily pickup and delivery. And so when I was sending out my coupons, the couponing was a big part of the pizza business, and my marketing and my promotions, if I did community events, I kind of kept it within that general range, because when we were doing deliveries, I didn't want to take a delivery that was 5 or 10 miles away. It didn't make sense. It was going to take a long time to get to that customer. Customer satisfaction was going to be down. It kind of puts an impact on the operation of the business and the driver, and delaying other deliveries and so forth. And so this is where I kind of focused and targeted. I'll give you an example. This is my target market, but what if somebody from the outside called me? So give you an example. I had businesses that were, this is in the city of Orange here down in Southern California. I had somebody from Costa Mesa, which was about an 8-mile drive, and it was a business. And they called me up. They said, hey, we'd like to feed our employees, their lunch, and we have 300 employees, and we want to order 40 pizzas, right? What's the first thing I'm thinking? Of course. And so, I made arrangements to deliver. It was well outside my geographic limitations, but I went outside of that range. One, it's obviously there was good revenue there. Two, I'm now exposing another 200 or 300 people to my product, and some of them might live just down the street from my pizzeria that become regular customers. So again, even though we segment and we target a certain area, there are times that we will go outside of that. So delivery, and then, again, people driving into the pizzeria, they weren't going to do it from long distances. All right, good. So again, you can do it by mileage, you can do it by zips, you can do it by states, but the key here is when I went out to advertise, and I'll give you an example, I would have the local football team, and when I say local, it was somebody that was about 5 miles away that said, hey, will you sponsor us? All right, well, it wasn't really my target geographic area because most of those people lived outside of that area, so the possibility of them coming to the pizzeria and ordering after that was much lower. And so I'll talk about when we say advertising effectively, and what I like to call it getting the biggest bang for your buck, would I get any return on that investment? So, it's going to build the brand, get good word of mouth, get the name out there and doing something good for the community. But, I get a number of calls. Hey, we're the baseball team. Will you sponsor us? Hey, we're the football team. Will you sponsor? Hey, give us $300. Hey, we'll get you a banner, right? You got to really focus on where do I want to put my advertising and marketing dollars so it makes the most sense. Okay. Here's another visual when it comes to demographic segmentation. Okay. So this first upper left area, there is no market segmentation. Just kind of everybody could be a potential customer. That would be the segment. Now, we want to fully segment it by each individual. Okay, not usually the case in what we would do in breaking it down to what we would call such a niche market. So we might look here. This is where it's segmented by gender. Okay, so we may have a very gender-focused product. Okay, maybe it's, I'm going to keep it to 2 genders, if that's all right. But as we have other genders, right, that are developing and growing, we're developing products and services for, more gender, so to speak. But you could break it down by male, you could break it down by female. Okay, in the bottom middle one there, we've broken it down maybe by gender and or by age. Okay, so I talked about it could be gender, it could be age, it could be income level, could be educational level. We want to focus on those that are high school graduate. We want to focus on those that make over $100,000 a year. Okay, so this kind of gives you a visual of how you can break it down so you know who to target and who to focus on. Okay. I'll give you an example why you might want to look at income and geography. Let's say you want to open up a Bentley car dealership or a Porsche car dealership. Think about, and maybe in your own cities, I know we have people from many areas here, think about the areas that are socioeconomically thriving, right? And those that, are doing very well, and those that are socioeconomically challenged. You put that Bentley dealership into an area where the average income is $30,000 a year, the chance of them buying a Bentley is very low. There may be 1 or 2 people that live there that could buy it, but why not put it into a more affluent area where your chance of selling your product is much better, okay? And sorry, I think this one is a little bit blurry, but again, just wanted to give you kind of a visual from the different breakdowns here in some of the terms that we could look at. Our ethnic origins, right? We might look at certain nationalities, and we see there's certain ethnic groups in certain cities that are very prominent. Here in Southern California, we have a high Asian population, especially in Irvine. Our Korean and Vietnamese population in Westminster and Garden Grove is really abundant. And so if you have a product for that, it makes sense that you would advertise and market to that area where you're more inclined to make your sales. Okay, so this just kind of shows you how things can be broken down from a demographic standpoint. I have here from a psychographic standpoint, and I won't go in as much detail, but here's kind of some of the examples, right? Are these people that are achievers? Are they go-getters? Are they early adopters, right? Again, where do they spend their time? What magazines do they read? Where do they get their information? How many times do they drink coffee in a week, right? So these are some of the personality characteristics that we might find to really understand our customer a little bit more. Okay, you see in the chat. Okay, and there's the benefit segmentation, as I talked about a little bit as well. Okay, any questions so far on the way this is broken down and segmented? No, good so far? Yes, no? Somebody unmute, or I'm not sure if you can unmute. All right, so let me give you a little quiz here, so to speak. So I talked about the importance of advertising. So when we put our go-to-market strategy together, again, with your business plan, as you may have seen from the last presentation, we're starting with your problem. Hopefully you've come up with an idea for a product because you're solving some sort of a problem, right? So you came up with a solution. Here's my problem. Here's my solution. And I believe they had talked about in the last session when Professor Faustino had talked about the business model canvas, had looked at customer segments and value proposition. And I'll talk about that a little bit. I know many times in that business model canvas, it says, determine who your customer segments are first. You look at those. I think it makes more sense. Determine the value that you're going to provide. What's your value proposition first? What is your product going to do? Because then that's going to drive who you're going to target to, all right? So, for example, if you're providing a more economically priced and a much better priced product, is that going to be targeted towards the young generation, or maybe the starving college students, if you will, or maybe it's targeted towards the elderly that are on a fixed income. So it just might depend based on what your value proposition is. So again, we need to have effective promotions, okay? So the biggest bang for our buck. So I'm gonna roll in a couple of logos here. Hopefully they are going to roll in. Yes, all right. Who's this logo for? Somebody shout it out, unmute and shout it out. All right, we're gonna put it in the chat. Maybe they can't unmute. All right, good, Instagram. So let me ask you this. So now we want to tie to, if this is our marketing channel and we want to promote our business through Instagram, what I want to know, and Faye, are they able to unmute or raise their hands?
Bill?
Oh, he said, yeah, we cannot unmute ourselves. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So I guess we'll have to type it into the chat here. What I want to know is who is looking at Instagram. Okay, so tell me very quickly in the chat if you can, maybe an age, maybe a gender, is it certain income levels? Young adults, Gen Zers, okay? All right, is it gender specific? Okay, no? And what about if we look at the psychographic aspect of things? What is Instagram? It's very kind of visual, right? So what would you say some of those people like to do, or what their behaviors or their interests might be because they're maybe Instagram users? How can you kind of work it backwards a little bit? Showing lifestyles, okay, good. Anything else? Influencers, okay. So they're on technology, they're interested in fashion, popular culture. All right, good. Excellent. Presentation is very important, how I look, what I want to be able to put out there, what I could show. Good. Sports and news, excellent. All right, let me roll in another logo here. Not really a logo, but the newspaper. There are a few still around. There are still some readers of the newspaper. So who would you be targeting if you were to place, let's say, an advertisement in the newspaper? Or maybe it's, you know, a digital newspaper now. You know, there's some that still get the Wall Street Journal, and there's ads there, they're getting it digitally. Who would that be? Yes, boomers, middle-aged to the elderly. Good. Older age citizens, the wise, like myself, the gray hairs, right? Is that what they call them? So think about if you were selling a product, let's say it's, I don't know, walkers and canes and wheelchairs, or something that is targeted towards the baby boomers. Maybe it's a certain medical insurance, or financial savings for the elderly, whatever it might be. Maybe it is a retirement home. Okay. I bet if you post that on Instagram, those particular users, or those that might be looking for retirement home as they're getting out there, may not see that, but they may see it in the newspaper, okay? So again, where do we place that ad really depends on the individuals. All right, let's bring in another logo here. Hopefully it will come in. Come on. There we go. All right, Etsy. Hopefully many of you are familiar with Etsy. You know, a big what's the term I want to use? Shopping website, if you will. Who is this primarily targeted towards? Anybody know? Okay, wholesalers could be, good. All right, yes, it's an e-commerce site. Art lovers. Hobbies, crafts, what gender do you think? Mainly female shoppers, yes, okay. So female shoppers, think about that certain age group that it might be in, okay. So again, I don't think there's a lot of men that are going on this website to purchase and find things. So if you got the new, autographed jersey or the football or things of that sort, may not be the best place to promote or advertise your product. Okay, excellent. All right, let's get the next one coming in here. All right, television. Is television dead? Right? So we still see the biggest dollars are spent on television advertising. I don't know if you guys know, last year, Super Bowl commercial, the 30-second Super Bowl commercial was roughly $5.5 million for 30 seconds. Wow, break that down per second, right? Very, very expensive. Why? You're still reaching, globally about 160 million viewers when you're watching the Super Bowl. People are still watching television. Again, a certain demographic. So think about yourselves, whether it be generational or a certain age group. There may be certain shows that you're watching. You know, we're doing a lot of streaming, obviously, these days, but we're still seeing advertisements on either some of those streamings or those on-demands where you can't fast forward it, right? So there's still some ads there in reaching out to those that are watching television. Again, probably certain age groups. These days, I would suppose that the television type of advertising is probably increased because we're spending more time at home, right? And so, it's still a valid medium to go after to advertise. It is very expensive though, okay? All right, let's bring in another one. Facebook, okay? So let me ask you this, for those that may know, geographically, where would you not try to post on Facebook? If you're trying to reach a certain geographic country, where can you not use Facebook? Does anybody know? Oh, you already said it there. There you go, China, right. So let's say, hey, we want to launch our product in China. Let's advertise on Facebook. They don't have access to it, right? Instagram, Google, they don't have access to those things. What is also one of the largest growing demographic age groups of Facebook users? Anybody know? Not young adults. Well, depends what your definition of young is. Yeah, so your older generation, okay? So, you're 50 and up. That group is growing substantially. We're seeing our Gen Zers, our younger individuals coming off of Facebook, moving to Snapchat, moving, to your TikToks, to your Instagrams, okay? So this may be a way of reaching out to those, what did I see, a walking caners, as somebody had put it, right, to the older generation. So the teenagers are coming off of Facebook and it's more towards an older generation. Facebook still provides lots of services. Now, when you guys said old people, young people, so here is too, when you define your target market, and if you put this into your deck, or you're talking about this in your pitch, don't say older people. Don't say younger people, because that's all very subjective. I think I'm super young. You ask my kids and they say I'm super old, right? So it's very subjective. So you want to put it in age range, okay? For Facebook users, we're going to target 40 to 65-year-olds, right? Or, for our product that we're developing, it's for the 18 to 24-year-olds. Could a 30-year-old buy it or a 16-year-old buy it? Sure, very possibly. But this is the age group that you're targeting. Don't ever say, my product is for everyone. Anybody can buy it. All people. Don't ever say that. That is not targeted and focused, and it's not realistic. So what, again, they like to see in the pitch competition, you've thought about specifically who your target group is. Same thing with when you do income level. Don't say rich people, okay? Because, again, that's very subjective. Somebody might think making $60,000, you're doing really well. Others might say you need to make $200,000 to have a good income. So put a range on that. We're going to focus on individuals that make between $40,000 and $150,000 a year. Okay, so kind of put that range in there. All right, good. Let's see, we've got a couple more here, I think. There we go, Billboard Advertising. Who does this target? So think about lifestyles. Think about maybe age as well. What is this? Commuters, good. Working adults, excellent. Uber drivers, nice, yes, they're always on the road, okay? So, what happened during the pandemic? Boy, I get billboards were not getting a lot of viewership, right? As people were not on the freeways anymore. those forms of advertising were not as effective. I bet somebody that sold billboard advertising was not doing real well during the pandemic. To try to go to a business and say, oh, you should put your ad up here for X number of dollars, people aren't going to see it because nobody's driving. There's pros and cons to billboard advertising. Obviously, it's very quick. It is also kind of intrusive, but you're driving by it very fast. But if you're on the same freeway every day and you see that thing 2 or 3 times a day, it's going to have some subconscious penetration into you remembering that product or service when you're driving along. All right, question, can you describe advertising via sponsors? I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. If you can maybe elaborate a little bit more. If you're talking about, I don't know, if you're putting ads on like Google ads, or maybe you're talking about somebody that's sponsoring a baseball team. So maybe you're asking about this, influencing bloggers to talk about your products. Oh, okay. So influencers and bloggers. So influencer marketing in particular has grown substantially. I have a contact with a gentleman who's in marketing, and he does influencer marketing, and he has built a great company. It's slowed now during the pandemic, but this is where you find and you hire influential individuals, whatever it may be in their particular market, product, industry. And it doesn't always have to be a celebrity, but this is where you might go and you find somebody that has a very large social media following, and they can be an influencer. And maybe they write a blog, as you had mentioned there, and they have a number of followers. And so you as a product can go to these influencers that have a lot of people listening to what they're saying, and they are promoting your business or talking about your business. And so they are paid and can make some good money as influencers there. You know, it's kind of like the word of mouth when you think about it, because what is the best form of advertising? Really, it's word of mouth. Why? Because somebody has recommended the product or service to you. And if it's your friend, or if it's somebody you know or somebody you respect, your chances of buying or purchasing that product or service are much greater than if you just saw an ad on television. And if you really trust and like and listen to this influencer or this blogger, and they are promoting that product or service, your chance of buying is going to be much greater. You know, it's like on the radio. If any of you listen to radio, they have the DJs doing the advertising now. So it might be the person that does the weather or the traffic or whatever the DJ is, and will do an advertisement for a particular product. Well, you believe in them, you trust them, you like them, you listen to them every day. And if the weather person said to go buy that product, it must be a good, viable product. Okay, so so that's really, I don't know if that answered your question with the influencers and bloggers and how that could be really, really important. So I'm going to touch on one on podcasts here at the end, but you know, magazines, these are very targeted. Magazine ads can be pretty expensive, but the nice thing about magazine ads, this is where you look at the psychographics, right? Fitness magazine, equestrian magazine, equestrian. So maybe it's those horse lovers. Who's going to buy that equestrian magazine? Horse lovers and people that ride horses. I'm not going to buy one. I don't ride it. But if you've got products that are specifically for horses and riding and things of the sort, you've got a really targeted market. So that's the beauty of magazines. It's very, very targeted. You know, women's magazine, Good Housekeeping, cooking magazine. Those are people that are cooking and foodies and love food. Those are great targeted places to advertise. All right, and lastly, I want to move along a little quicker here. Again, to your bloggers or your podcasts, we are seeing podcasts blow up, right? Maybe many of you are listening to podcasts constantly, and this is a great way and a great place to promote your product. And those that have podcasts, this is where you can go to a product to get sponsorships. You know, I will play your ad on my podcast. And many times if it's something that's tied in to what your podcast is about, you know, even better. But this is a great form of advertising now, and a great place to get your product out there through the podcast, especially if the person that does the podcast is reading off that advertisement. You've got that trust, you believe in that person, it's going to be so much more beneficial. All right, good. So let's jump along a little bit as we look at niche marketing. So again, this is a much smaller market. Now, the thing you want to be careful of is if you go after a smaller market and it's very specific, it might be too small where you may not be profitable. But for things like custom-made products, you know, let's take an Etsy, you know, where they're doing a lot of custom-made and unique art products. If you're custom making products, you're probably going to sell them for a much higher price, right? So they're going to be pretty expensive. So your revenue streams can still be pretty high, and you could do pretty well. So, all right. So again, that's niche marketing. Make sure you might hear niche, 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 right? So everybody kind of pronounces it a little bit different, but that's what a niche market is if you hear it. All right, let me see. Teresa had a question. Make sure I've addressed it. When I have a product or service targeting for young children, age 6 to 12, such as an after-school program, would my advertising be targeted to their parents? Excellent question. So, you know, I give these questions, and I read that quickly, but what this person wants to know is their product is for children. Well, you're not going to target the children and advertise to the children. You're going to advertise to their parents. Okay, so if it's for 6 to 12-year-olds, you know, maybe you place an ad in Parenting Magazine. The user is the children, but those that are purchasing would be the parents. Okay, maybe for a 10 or 12-year-old, you know, they're watching some shows, they're watching Boom, they're watching, you know, different animated shows on television. Maybe you get a commercial in there because they might say, hey, Mom and Dad, I saw this. I'd really like to buy that. Okay. All right, excellent. All right, so niche. So I want to share with you now, I know I don't have a whole lot more time. I've got a few more slides. I want to share with you some resources that you can do for your research. So again, if you want to take pictures of these, I have the website URLs up here for you to see. And I want to go into a few of these and just kind of show you how they work. The first one, which is a government site, government entity. You guys are hearing advertisements all about the census. Answer the 9 questions for the census, right? This is why the census now is able to provide data for us to use to find out information. So let me jump over to my other screen, which I think is right here. All right, so hopefully you guys can see that. This is the census.gov site. Okay, when it brings you here, I just want to touch on a couple of areas because there's a whole host of information. So the first thing you can do is you can do explore data. Okay, and once I go in and explore the data, oops, sorry, there's a number of different ways you can go. I'm going to go to explore data main. All right, take me over to this search here. And I can type in, so let's say I want to know, gosh, how many people are in the state of California that are in a certain age group? So I'm going to type in California. Okay. This will tell me the population. It will tell me the median household income, the poverty rate, so forth and so on. It can also break it down by different age groups, okay? And if you dig around in this site, there's a lot of different areas you can go to that show the data a little bit differently. That will show it in charts and graphs by these certain demographic breakdowns, okay? So here's race and ethnicity. So if you've got a certain ethnic product that you are trying to go after, you can see the amount of population in those certain ethnicities. Okay. I want to go back to also the tables and show you on there as well. Explore data. Let me go to here in just a second. They did have the tables. I want to jump over to it. Yeah, here. View tables. Okay, so here you go. So this is popping up the United States. I didn't put in California. I can customize it if I want and hit another geographic area, and I can type in California. Sorry, but you can see how it breaks it down. So this is for the entire United States. How many males, how many females, how many are there in these certain age groups, okay? So when the judges say, well, how big is your potential market? You know, if I plan on growing in the United States, I'm targeting, let's say, the 15 to 24-year-olds. I know there's roughly about 43 million people that could be a potential customer within that age category within the United States. Okay, so this is where that data can be valuable. Okay, so again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time going through it. You guys will need to kind of search through it. A whole host of data and information in here. There is one other area that I wanted just to show you quickly. If we go into, what is it, browse topic, business and economy. Okay, we can look at, went into small business here. And we went into knowing your customers. Okay, business and industry on the left side. So you can go into business and industry, and there's a whole host of information about different industries in here. Okay, statistics of U.S. businesses. Okay, there's tables and charts, all sorts of data that you can kind of dig through here to find. All right, so I'm going to kind of buzz through a little bit quickly. The next one I wanted to show you, so these sites here are some good demographic data that you can find. I put the price on here. Most all of them are free that you can get to. There are a few when you dig in, like I think it's Pew Research, that you do need to sign up. But let's take it from now demographics to more, what are buyer behaviors in the psychographics? And so this Google, the Google Marketer's Almanac. So this is a great one when it comes to buyer behaviors. And again, I'm just going to show you very quickly, but this is Google that we can look into consumer trends. Okay, and so there'll be a whole host of information on here, videos, data. What are people looking at? What are people buying? Where are they spending their time? Okay, so we can see the trend of consumers. You can use that data in your business plan. 72% of the people in the last 6 months are looking at new cars. Just kind of an example, okay? That helps to drive the credibility of your product and who your consumers are. All right, so that's the Google one. The Pew Research, again, this has some data sets and consumer trends that we could look at. A whole host of information here that you can find in terms of trends. You can look at the data sets. Those are the ones where I think you need to sign up for that, or you need to contact them for information. But a whole host of information when it comes to consumer trends. All right. So let me go back to this screen. Again, if you guys need to take a snapshot of that, this is the buyer behaviors. You can see the URLs there, okay? I want to move quickly because I only have a few minutes. Industry analysis. So the other thing you want to find out, and this helps know with your competition, is search industry publications on the website. Let's say you want to open a mobile coffee stand or something. You can go in and look at coffee industry publications. You can see if it's growing, what the market is doing, how consumer trends have changed. You know, I'm working on my coffee product again, and I'm seeing a big, as I'm looking at data, a big drive towards nitro brew and infused coffees and flavored coffees, and we're seeing the trend that way. You can put that data and statistics into your information. Okay. The other one I want to share, two of them real quickly, is Surveymonkey and Make My Persona. All right. Surveymonkey. I don't know how many of you are familiar with it or not, but I want to share with you the value of this. It is free for the basic service. Let me show you what it looks like. When you go into Surveymonkey, you can now create your own custom surveys. This is what we call getting primary data. And I did this for my coffee product because I wanted to find out what consumers were doing with ice blended coffee. And so I created a survey, and I sent that out through social media and got lots of feedback on it. But let me just kind of show you, if I were to log in, kind of basically what it looks like. Very intuitive, very robust, but very easy to use. And we'll walk you through. Click Create Survey, right? And you know, we're going to do English here, different languages. Here's some of the surveys that I did. You could there's some wonderful templates. You can do a variety of different questions, whether it be true, false, multiple choice. You could do Likert scale. How would you rate? Okay, so I use this in my classes. Surveymonkey is a great tool. Many of you may be familiar with it, but a great way to get some quick and easy feedback on some more specific questions to your product or service if the secondary data isn't out there. Okay, all right. Let me, I want to go to mypersona.com. So what we talk about, and Jay or Faye, maybe you guys can tell me if I go a few minutes over, we okay? Or, you know, how long do we have? I've got another 5+ minutes or so.
Yes, we do.
We're okay. All right. The next session isn't until 5, right? So we give them enough time to have a snack and get the next session. All right. We'll keep them busy today. All right. Nothing like learning after school's over, right? All right. So this Make My Persona. So if you guys have not heard of a persona, what a lot of companies do is, as they've put their target market together, they want to narrow down to, all right, who is our typical customer? So they now create what we call a persona. So let's say it's a certain age group, a certain gender, and they're going to use that persona. I'm going to show you how to build one here. They're going to use that persona to say, okay, with this product, what would our, let's say we name it Becky and it's a female. What would Becky do with this product? Where would Becky buy this product? Where would Becky see this advertised? What does Becky like to do on the weekends, right? And they always refer back to this persona. So I'm going to build one out very quickly for you. I think I need to change my screen back to, which one am I on? Okay, I'm on the Surveymonkey. So let me go to the Make My Persona, okay? So you guys can all see that. So let's say I'm going to quickly build a persona. And this is pretty cool because it'll walk you through it. It says to pick an avatar. Now, what most companies do is they have an actual photograph or an image of what Becky might look like. So I don't know, let's say I'm going to go with Becky. So this is my avatar, and I move over. How old are they? Okay, so under 18 to, let's say this person's 18 to 24 years old. What's their highest degree in education? And you don't have to answer all these, but let's say I'm going to target people that have at least an associate's degree. What industry do they work? Let's say, and they've got some drop downs here. Let's say they work in retail. They're not self-employed, but they work for, let's say they work for a boba shop or something, I don't know, 11 to 50 employees, okay, so a smaller place. What's their job title? All right, so let's say they are a cashier, okay? How is their job measured? Okay, so there's some examples here. We're going to, let's say it's just by sales. Who do they report to? So we're going to say the shift manager. Okay, we'll move along. All right, what are their goals and objectives? Graduate, right? I don't know, corporate job. All right, what are their biggest challenges? Maybe it's communication, you know, they're not real happy there. So those are a couple that we'll click on. All right, what tools do they need to do their job? For this job, probably not a whole lot in terms of what they've listed here. Now, we can go in and add some things. So, I don't know, training, we'll say. All right, how do they prefer to communicate with their vendors or other businesses? So, it's a little bit younger, she probably likes social media, and we'll do some text messaging. Okay, and what social networks do they belong to? So this is somebody that's, you know, likes posting a lot of images, you know, whatever, you know, those boba drinks that they are making that look really good, Instagram, and she's tweeting out a little bit. All right, so now it builds our persona. Okay, so now we could print this out, we could save it, we could download it. And now this is a person, when we think about Becky in all the characteristics that they have. And what is cool is if I want to go down here and add something else. So let's say I want to say hobbies, which wasn't included in here. What are their hobbies, right? They like to watch TV, hanging out with their friends, okay, whatever those things might be. And I can add another section, all right? And so you can create those values, those psychographics that we talked about that are really important to them. You know, maybe they like to go to the gym. And so again, now we use this, and this is now how we focus our products, our advertising, how we're going to price it, all of those things based on this persona about Becky, right? All right. Any questions, thoughts, comments, concerns? Great little tool to be able to use there. And again, this is what companies use. So yeah, I don't know when Jay's going to get the PowerPoint to you guys. Somebody had asked about the URLs, having the PowerPoints. Again, if you take a quick either screenshot, I do have links in here, so if there's a PowerPoint, you can link to it. But I suppose, Jay, you'll make this accessible to them so they can access these, yes?
Yes, we will.
All right, very good. Excellent. All right, so the last thing I want to talk about is the competition. I'll kind of keep this short and sweet, but it's important to know who your competition is. This is where it goes back to your value proposition. Okay, so when the last professors talked about your value proposition, what do you do differently than the competition? Now, you may be very similar, but there's usually something that'll differentiate yourself. That's why you wanted to do it again or do it differently or create a similar type of product. And maybe your value is based on price. Maybe you're going to develop a product that is less expensive. Okay, maybe you're going to come up with a product that's a higher price, higher end. Maybe it's a better quality product. Maybe your value is the convenience that you're providing to somebody. Maybe it's just changing the packaging. You know, I like to think about, for any of you that have Lunchables, right? So Lunchables, you know, what a concept. Instead of packing my kids' lunch, and we don't eat them, but instead of packing my kids' lunch, and I need the crackers and the salami and the carrots and all that, put them in separate bags, why not put all that stuff and put it in separate compartments and cello wrap it, and then you sell it as an individual unit. All they did is take lunching items and packaged it a little bit differently, right? Maybe you've got superior service, whether it be customer service, whether it be your follow-up services that you have. So what is that value proposition that you provide that's a little bit different, okay? And so that's how you'll know kind of who you're competing against, okay? And if anybody says, and for the most part, you know, who's your competition? Oh, I don't have any competition. There's nothing out there like this. Well, you're telling me you've searched the entire world and there isn't anything similar in any way. There's very few instances where that's the case, all right? So we want to look at direct and indirect competition. So here's examples. Pepsi, their direct competitor is Coke, okay? Indirect competition. So these are alternative choices and or alternative products. So let's say you're coming out with a new soft drink, right? And you've got your direct competitors. Well, there's also other alternatives of things to drink. There's coffee, there's tea, there's fruit juice, there's energy drinks, there's water. There's all sorts of things that would be your indirect competitors because somebody else could choose to pick another product to drink rather than the soft drink that you have, okay? So keep that in mind. So best way to find information on competitors, I think, is to really research industry publications, look at the website. You know, thank God for Google these days. You guys have access to information. And this is where it's a pro and a con, because if you don't know something, it can kind of hinder you because it's out there in the World Wide Web, right? You've got Google, and if you didn't take the time to do it, that's where it kind of knocks you down. I had a student that was in a pitch competition. She's won so many competitions. They asked her a question, and she had not researched that piece of it or couldn't answer it quick enough, and that's what kind of dinged her, and she came in second place for the first time. So, you know, knowing that information. So anything you can find out about your competitors, such as market share. What is their revenue? You know, so you might say, hey, the next closest competitor, you know, is bringing in revenue $300 million. It kind of gives you an idea of where that industry and market is going. What products do they have? Are they growing? Are they declining? And how do you compete? Is it your products? Is it your service, your price? Again, your value proposition. If you could put something like this in your business plan, again, the visuals. When you do your business plan, less words are better. It's all about the visuals. And so whatever your product might be, these are watches, and you have check marks like this, you can visually see, look at how many more features this product has. It's superior, okay? You may also want to look at your barriers to entry. So as you come in as a competitor or other competitors come in, is it easy to get into that industry, or is it very challenging, right? Is there a lot of technology that you might need, or high capital investment that you may need? So understanding those barriers to entry, because somebody might say, as you're developing a product, wow, it sounds like you're going to need to raise, $5 million because this is a high-tech, high capital investment industry. How are you going to do that? And so you have to kind of think through that. Okay. All right. Let's see. Somebody raised their hand. That's all I have. So is it Rohan? You had raised your hand. I don't know if I don't think I can unmute you, right? Let me see if you put something into the chat here. Okay, so that was an accident, no problem. Can you go back to those slides then? All right, so Leela, is there a particular slide you want me to go back to? I think you're going to get the slides, but if you, and I'm hoping I'm sharing, was I sharing the last screens there with the competition and the information? Did you guys all see this? Because I'm jumping from screen to screen. I'm hoping you did. All right. There's another question here. Let's see, Robin had, for the competition, is it okay if you're targeting only a small niche market? Absolutely, yes. If you're targeting that small niche, there may be some competitors. Know those competitors. But, many times, and it depends on the product, is it scalable, right? Is it something that's feasible to grow? Maybe for you, if you opened a small business and you only brought in a measly $300,000 or $400,000 in revenue a year, maybe you're happy with that and you can live very well off of that. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that at all. Okay, but know if there's other competitors in that market. All right. Anything I missed? Mountains of data on census.gov. Yes, Christopher, absolutely. See, PBS News, the competition. All right. So any other questions that you want to put into the chat? If you want me to go back to any slides here, again, I hope I was showing these slides when we talked about the competition, again, kind of jumping back and forth from screen to screen. All right, let me read this one. There are many marketing strategies that have changed with time. When looking years ahead and attempting to envision your company product, how do you approach a marketing strategy that can last for a longer period of time? Or should it be nimble enough to pivot? Absolutely. So with entrepreneurship, with any company, pivoting and being nimble and knowing that strategies may change, and these could be short-term strategies, you have to be able to do that. Not only from marketing, but think about Kodak. Think about, and I think Professor Pewitt had talked about Blockbuster Video. Oh, people aren't going to want to stream things on their computer, right? They're going to want to come to check things out. They did not pivot and see the potential demand for a different type of product or a different type of delivery. Same thing with advertising, right? We've seen the transition from traditional advertising to the impact that social media advertising and marketing is making. And if you're not on social media, if you don't have a website, it's very unlikely that you're being seen or that you're seen as a viable and credible company. All right, so yes, we need to be able to transition to marketing, and probably on the next segment, they're going to talk more about your go-to market strategy. How do you grow the business? How do you advertise and market? Because I think of the 4 P's of marketing, I think the most important is the promotions. You might have the best product, it's priced the best, You got your distribution channel set up, ready to go. But if nobody knows that you exist, right, and you haven't told them, you haven't promoted, marketed, and advertised, you're not going to make a sale. Your business is not going to go anywhere. So that's why I feel that marketing and promotions are one of the most impactful, most important part of the marketing mix. All right, any other questions? So again, there's my contact information. If anybody wants to shoot me an email, reach out. If you have another question, be happy to answer those for you. I'm helping to mentor in the contact at IVC, so I'm hoping we've got some great competitors that are coming through the different rounds, and I'm really looking forward to this competition to see what all of you are coming up with and designing. And it's a pretty rigorous competition in the respect that there's a lot of information there, but this is what you need to go through as a small business to kind of start planning and preparing, if you want to launch and go to the marketplace. So that's all I have. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you so much, Professor John Russell. So for everyone, just a reminder that there's another workshop at 5. So that's all. Thank you again. Thank you for everyone who attended.